Well, this one finally is the first one I think all season. I think honestly, if we're being honest, since like January, that the Browns have won a game and nobody is conflicted about it. Nobody is complaining about some other aspect or some other side of the ball. This is not a win that we have to debate. This is not a win where we have to slice it down and go, well, and argue with the people who just think wins are wins and all this stuff. This is a win for the whole family. This is a win that everybody can enjoy. But why did it feel like that? Well, we'll get into that. But before I do, want to make sure I give a shout out to the patreon.com dog check tier members. I'm going to start with Michael Matique, Cam Vex, Jaleel Salim Jr. and Sr., Caleb Pickering, Benjamin Woods, Michael Terry, Sam 28, Wani Boy, Rob Morehouse, Tyler Chiz, Michael Morales, Mark Kahn, Max Haymaker, Nick Merrick, D.A.J., Joe Hart, Gabriel Wilson, Fred Pat III, David Valtiar, Relentless Buck, Rex Kaufman, Kevin Johnson, Cleveland Cart, Matt H., Sign Sheets, Gemini, Leon Freeman, Fight 3074, Chunt, Yo-Yo, Matt Lloyd, Paul Wilcox, Hondo Magnifico, Kyle Stoffer, Lukey from Munich, Dave Roth, J Guy 101, Musty Taco, Brad Cowbo, Dylan W, James McGinley, Arendal, Chad Gimme, David Maldonado, Josh Spindor, Austin Rich, Mark M, Stuart Moore, Dylan Hill, Cleveland BCI, Robert Germain, Dave Mike May, Andrew Hirsch, Curtis Bayer, Batman, Barack Kumar, John Albert, Beerman 069, Masayua, Butts Roland, Mac House, Reeve Hertz, Philip Wilcoxon, Marie Vivert, Sean Barron, Goggles Pisano, Dom Gazzulo, Nick Nasty, Ian Whitaker, Colin 216, Christian, Dave Strong, Michael Stone, Soul Train, Billy, Moose Gentry, Austin Z, Mark Burnett II, Andre Griffin, Otis Wolf, Dog Pound Kai, Greg Ehlers, Austin Bolin, Lydia Mahawk, Alexander Davis, Chris Falms, Picktown Browns backer, Max Nielakenko, Max Al Dojo, and Water Bear Marketing. Again, guys, thank you so much for the help and support on Patreon. It means a ton to me. Now let's jump into the video. I like that. A win for the entire family. All season, man, we have been debating these wins. We've been arguing these wins. We've been not 100% satisfied with these wins. Well, finally, one comes where I don't care who you are. That was a satisfying win. The Browns beat the Bengals 41-16 in what was their most complete game of the year. Now, was it a perfect game? No, the offense still has some issues to work out in the red zone. They need to execute a little bit better in that area. Although that last drive, if it showed anything, showed some promise in that area with Baker Mayfield lasering a ball straight to David Njoku to score the 40th point. So there are some things to look at highly in that area. Defensively, they had issues with third and long still, the soft coverages and stuff like that doesn't do them any favors. But defense played lights out today, man. I think they were the MVP of this game. It starts with the pick six from Denzel Ward. They end up getting another pick thanks to Denzel Ward, and then a fumble gets forced because of John Johnson. The area of this team or the area of this defense where we've had the most question was the back end and at times the corners. Now, I've been maintaining I think the corners have been fine. I felt like Denzel Ward has played fine. Greg Newsome has been excellent. But still, there was a lot of question about whether this team could hang with a Jamar Chase, could stay with them in the pace that he's on. And they did a good job keeping him out the end zone. And I know Jamar didn't have a bad game statistically. He put up like a Allen Robinson stat line. But he had a rough game when you look at he had the fumble, couple of drops. The Browns are really just going at him with one-on-one man coverage and just being able to stop him there. Great corner play. And I mean, these were physical, batting the ball out type plays that the Browns defense was making on a consistent basis, whether it was Greg Newsome, A.J. Green even got in there a couple of times, not the wide receiver, but the corner, and then Denzel Ward as well. So all three of them I felt like did a great job. Unfortunately, Greedy Williams did go out in this game, and it was because of the same shoulder that he had the nerve damage in. So fingers crossed. Hopefully it's just a little bit of a scare there and everything will be okay with him, and that he didn't re-aggravate that injury fully. So hopefully that's not the case because we know how long that recovery took for him, and I hope the best for him. So Greedy's going to be out, was out for the game. And then Greg and Denzel had to step up. The defensive line, I felt like the edges played well. Clowney and Miles, I felt like they played well at times. Malik McDowell and Malik Jackson played well. Other times, they weren't really as stout up front. I know the Browns like to sub their defensive line because they feel like they have depth there. But I think Sheldon Day and Jordan Elliott get way too many snaps at this point. I think they're not good up the middle. Linebacking wise, look, it wasn't bad, but we're used to seeing JOK out there. I think this defense is definitely missing JOK. A lot of the screens that the Bengals were able to get, that stuff that JOK was able to kind of knock down. And a lot of short stuff, JOK would be able to make those plays, but hopefully he'll come back from injury sometime soon. I mean, overall, defensively, I felt like it was a strong performance. There is some room for improvement, as there is in any week's game. There is a room for improvement, but I think it's about time that a lot of people turn down their Joe Woods fire and let the man breathe. He has had 3 weeks of 3 good defensive performances, and I know people had caveats for the other 2 weeks. Oh, it's the Denver Broncos. Oh, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. But this week, he held another team under 20 points, and it was the Bengals, who came in with a high-powered offense. So, it's time to put some respect on Joe Woods' name. I felt like he came out here, and it was his signature piece that carried the game, right? It wasn't a Myles Garrett carried you game like the Chicago game was. It was the secondary that really stepped up and made a ton of plays here, which was huge. And again, if this secondary can show up like this against more teams more often, this team's going to be very good, and they're going to win a ton of games. But let's talk about the aspect of the team that I have been lambasting the last week, quite frankly, and just begging to show up because I felt like they have disappointed this team with their inability to show up at times. That's the offense. They showed up. They looked good. They didn't look perfect, right? Again, the red zone execution, still sloppy, still had issues where you're getting penalties, when you're in the 20, turning first and goals at the 5, the first and goals at the 15. Still those issues still did exist. You showed some promise with the Njoku touchdown late in the game, but issues did persist up until that point. But what I will say is that this offense's ability to not just be stagnant and one-dimensional, so much better. I mean, so much better. It wasn't opened up per se, but it felt like it was less of Baker having to rely on dinking and dunking, and he was actually just kind of allowed to attack downfield, and he trusted that he could attack downfield. Now, a lot has been talked about why this whole Odell Beckham thing with Baker Mayfield didn't work. One of the theories that have been leaked out there essentially by what I would believe to be the coaches. Now, I'm speculating on that, but it's been leaked out there. I think Aditi Kinkhabwala reported this right when the whole OBJ fiasco happened, was that there were people in the building that believed that Odell freelanced a little much, and that threw off the rhythm of the entire offense when you look at how this offense is supposed to go, that it's a timing offense, and that not everything was what it seemed like in those video cut-ups, and that it's not all on Baker Mayfield in that aspect. Now, I've never thought it was all on Baker Mayfield, but there were some things that did look pretty damning when it came to Baker Mayfield. But this week, the issues just didn't exist that been existing for the last 7 weeks, right? I mean, not the last 7 weeks, but yeah, the last 7 weeks. I mean, essentially since the Chiefs game. And there is a common denominator in a lot of these performances where the offense feels clunky and not working, and that's when Odell is out there, whether it be 2019, 2020, or 2021, and when the offense feels like they're flowing. And that's when, the Browns don't have Odell out there, right? It's DPJ, it's the young guys. So maybe there's something to that, because what we saw today was such a drastic change in what this offense had looked like that it has to be explained by the absence of the person who the storyline all week was his absence, right? Like, there has to be some amount of credibility in that me personally, I thought was a little bit ridiculous, because again, the ideal on the surface that you're going to take away Odell Beckham and become a better team is ridiculous. But sometimes ridiculous things just happen to be true. And it might just be one of those situations to where, maybe there was some kind of disconnect to the point to where it was throwing off the timing of the entire offense, because Baker has never looked like that when Odell Beckham's on the field. It's just, it's a tale of two guys. So maybe there's something to it. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And I'm kind of eager to see what happens wherever Odell lands, what kind of impact he can have on the offense, whether it be positive or negative. I'm just interested to see what happens there. David Njoku had a good game. He had that touchdown there. Donovan Peoples-Jones, boy, I think he's going to be a really great wide receiver. He has a really great focus. I mean, tough dude, makes really tough catches, and he's tall, strong, long, fast. He has all the tools to be a great wide receiver in NFL. I don't know if he's a number one style wide receiver, but he's good enough to be the main wide receiver on the Cleveland Browns, I think, in a year or two. So that's going to be something interesting to watch. Jarvis didn't really have much of a game there. He was really only targeted on some screens here and there, and then he got a couple of plays where he had like the weird pitch play, and then he pitched out, and there were so many things wrong. I was mad that they called it. I was mad that he pitched it. Like, to just blame that play on one person would be ridiculous to me. And again, it's a footnote because the Browns won this game by like 30 points. So at the end of the day, what are my thoughts on this game? What do I think this means? This was a good marker. This was a excellent start to a month that, quite frankly, you can afford no errors in, right? The Browns are going to play this game. They're going to play New England. They're going to play Detroit. And they're going to play the Ravens in M&T Bank Stadium. So you'll want to go and beat New England next week. It's a tough game. They have the same record as you. I feel like you can beat them because I feel like the Browns are a better team than New England. Although Bill Belichick's going to have some tricks up his sleeve, right? He always has tricks up his sleeve, but Baker's not a rookie anymore. So that's going to be a tough one. And then you go to Detroit. And look, we know that you don't ever want to be the team that loses to the winless team, so there's always that anxiety and pressure going into that, but you better beat Detroit. And then you go to M&T Bank Stadium, and look, you lost that game to Pittsburgh, and I want that game back, and the way you can get that game back is you beat the Ravens at M&T. So you're still in the thick of things, man. Everybody in the wild card has the same record as you. Everybody in your division has virtually the same record, essentially. I mean, other than the Ravens, but you play them twice late in the season. So the game and the season is still in the Browns' hands. And for this month, I feel like this is where they need to go on a run. If they want to separate themselves from the rest of the pack, this is their opportunity to do it. We'll see if they do. But going into this game, I asked this team, what were they made of? What was his locker room made of? What's your quarterback made of? Is your head coach the guy to lead this team? You know, there were a lot of things up to question. A lot of people's competency was questioned. And whether that was disrespectful or not, it's what happened all week, right? We've seen all the hot takes about Baker Mayfield all week. I didn't even feel like responding to them because there were so many of them, so many people. Like, you could point out people and make, Stephen A. the scapegoat or whatever. There were hundreds of people willing to go on TV and question the competency of the Cleveland Browns, question the competency of the quarterback, question the competency of the head coach. And you had all of that going against you going into this game. Everybody questioning, are you guys the right people to be in charge because you couldn't make what seemed obvious to work? And the Browns came out and said, don't ever question our competency again. Baker came out, don't ever question my competency again, especially against the Bengals. Do you know who I am? I'm Baker Mayfield, the part owner of the Bengals. I don't lose games in Cincinnati. You know what I mean? But you came out, you handled business against a good team, not a great team, but a good team. And you now feel a ton better about this whole situation, right? Where will Odell land? I'm hearing it's Seattle. I don't care, quite frankly, where Odell lands, because as long as Baker and the Browns look like they did against the Bengals, bring it on. Whatever team he goes to, bring it on. I would love to play Odell again with this Baker Mayfield and this Cleveland Browns team that played against the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't have any fear about any team getting anybody if the Browns are playing like they did this week. Nobody in the NFL with this roster, and still without Odell, with this roster the Cleveland Browns have, if they play like they did, and it's very possible they could play better than they did against the Bengals in future weeks. But if they play at that level or above, there is not a single team in the NFL, I think, can beat the Browns 6 times out of 10 when they're playing like that, right? There's not a single team in the NFL that makes me think the Browns have no chance. There's not a single team or a single person you can add to a single team that would make me feel like if the Browns played them and they play like they did against the Bengals, that they don't have the chance. It just doesn't exist. So as far as Odell goes, we don't care. I don't care personally. I hope the best for him. I hope he goes somewhere. If it's Seattle, if it's Baltimore, we get to play him twice. And if we playing like this, I would love that. But at the end of the day, as long as the Browns take care of business, as long as the Browns look good, we ain't going to care where Odell is going. Matter of fact, we might only care because we want to play him again and show him what's up. Like, that might be the deal here. But at the end of the day, it's up to the Browns and it's up to Baker Mayfield. They play well, we don't care really what happens with Odell. If they don't, we got a lot of other things bigger than Odell Beckham to worry about for this team. But that's my thoughts for this game. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you feel relieved? Are you excited to see what the future has in store? Are you excited for the Browns' next game against the Patriots? Let me know in the comment section down below. But again, guys, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Have a good night.